Welcome to Fading Memories, the podcast for caregivers of loved ones with dementia. I'm your host, Jennifer Fink. My mom had Alzheimer's for 20 years, and when I went looking for answers, I had to start a podcast to find them. Join me as we navigate the challenges of dementia caregiving together. This podcast is your beacon of support and empowerment. Let's share our experiences, find solace, and discover the strength within us. Get ready to embark on a transformative caregiving journey with Fading Memories. If you're looking for additional advice, be sure to sign up for our weekly email newsletter. It's brief, gives you great advice. You can read it in less than 5 minutes, and you know where to find the link. It's in the website, on the show notes. We're working on subscriber-only information and specials, so you're not going to want to miss out. Did you know that midlife metabolic changes can impact your brain health? Women often experience changes in energy regulation during midlife, feeling fatigued or having reduced energy. In addition to eating a Mediterranean diet, exercise, and stress management, one way to protect your brain health is to add Relevate from NeuroReserve to your day. With Relevate, you get science-backed nutrition to help strengthen and protect your memory and cognitive performance today and for years to come. You deserve a brain span that lasts your lifespan, and to help you get started, use the link in the show notes and code FM15 to get 15% off any regular order. I've been taking Relevate for 3 years now, and I've seen an improvement in my memory and thinking. Now, on with our show. Welcome back, listeners. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a fantastic guest for you. Her name is Rebecca Chopp. She is living with Alzheimer's. She wrote a book, which, because we've been chatting since I asked her the name of the book, oh, it's Still Me, and I can't remember the subtitle, but I'll let her tell you about that. And so today we're going to talk about early diagnosis, lifestyle changes, and how Rebecca is still living a very full life with Alzheimer's. So thanks for joining me, Rebecca.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So I know you were college president, right? Why don't you give us your pre-Alzheimer's history on you? Tell us who you are then, now, and then we'll go into what you're doing to stay healthy.
Okay. I was raised in Kansas, and I wasn't even supposed to go to college. Girls didn't go to college in my era, but through an odd series of events, I went to college and ended up being very good at school, and first went to seminary. I was interested in religion, then got my PhD at the University of Chicago, and I taught at Emory for 14 years. And then I became provost, and I loved administration. I loved solving problems. I loved building community. I loved kind of envisioning with others how to move a place forward. So I was president at Colgate University, at Swarthmore College, and then came to the University of Denver as chancellor. I'd always wanted to be in Denver. I was 5 years into my presidency, and I loved my job. Things were going great. Went to my primary care physician, thought I was fine. Things were a little different for me, but I didn't know about signs of Alzheimer's other than memory loss, and I wasn't having memory loss. So my doctor asked me how I was doing, and I said, great. I'm sleeping 9 hours a night. I'd never slept that much. I'd always slept 4.5, 5 hours since I was a child. And she said, oh. And then I laughed and I said, oh, I got lost to your office. Now, I hadn't been getting lost, and I haven't gotten lost since, but I got lost that day. At the end of my meeting with her, she asked if I'd take a mini cognitive exam. She knew what I didn't know. She knew that any change in normal behavior, especially when you're older, can be a sign of some kind of neurological problem. So I took the mini cognitive exam thinking I'd pass because I said I was a really good student. I didn't. So she sent me on for more tests. I had MRIs. I had an insulin PET scan because Denver doesn't have amyloid PET scan machine yet. Um, and in March 2019, wow, just about 5 years ago, huh? I was diagnosed with MCI due to Alzheimer's.
Mm. Thank
Yeah,
goodness she
that's,
knew. She knew that it was not normal.
yes, so good. And so many doctors don't know all the signs, and they're under so much pressure, right? I mean, they have such a short time, but she did. And, all the organizations connected with Alzheimer's are now working hard to make sure all the doctors know what she knew that day.
Do you happen to know if she must have had experience with Alzheimer's or other dementia causing disease? Because that's still really rare, unfortunately. Many older doctors will dismiss it as just age related or tell you, oh yeah, I get lost driving places too, which is terrifying.
It's horrible. I so agree. So many doctors still dismiss it. I have friends who've told me because of my diagnosis, they've gone in. In fact, one of my siblings went in
That was
and
probably
her
smart.
doctor said, "Oh, yeah, nah, you're fine." My mother died of Alzheimer's. My grandmothers both died of Alzheimer's. I have Alzheimer's, and my sister's doctor is dismissing it. So I don't know. I know that my primary care physician is exceptionally good, and she has been with my husband too. So I don't know if she's just super smart or super attentive. I don't know that she has Alzheimer's in her family, but she did catch it, and I agree, it's extremely rare.
So you got lucky and it didn't take years to be diagnosed.
Correct.
Not that lucky is exactly the word you want to use for that diagnosis, but it does open up options. And before we were recording, I asked Rebecca if she was a candidate for the Leqembi treatment, excuse me, which she is, but she is with the Kaiser Foundation healthcare system, which I was until 2024, and they don't have it yet because I've learned that it's not just simply adding this new treatment to what everything else hospitals do. There's a whole protocol that they have to establish. So we're hoping that she might be a candidate for the next one, which is donanemab, which I hope I'm pronouncing
Yes, you
correctly.
did.
Yeah,
You
I've heard
did.
it enough times with the Alzheimer's Association. But in your opinion, why is getting an early diagnosis so important?
Oh, it's so important. I do have people tell me, why would you even want to know? But that question, I think, comes in part from the belief that there's nothing you can do. And I myself, when I got diagnosed, sank into despair. I mean, because I thought you walked out of your doctor's office with that diagnosis, and in a year or two, you'd be you'd be in bad shape, dependent, lose my mind. But the earlier the diagnosis, the more you can do. One, lifestyle changes can keep you healthy. In those who don't have Alzheimer's, the research is showing that lifestyle changes may prevent the onset of Alzheimer's until your mid-90s, if you're still alive. But if you have Alzheimer's, it can keep, the body builds the brain.
Okay.
So it's not going to cure the disease, but it may keep you so healthy that the symptoms may not develop as rapidly. So lifestyle changes, the medications, Leqembi and soon donanemab are just the first of so many. Right now, all the medications that we know about are only effective in the early stages.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wait until, say, you can't button your shirt, you're really having trouble with your independence, those medications aren't going to help you. So the earlier you know, again, these medications don't cure the disease, but they delay the disease, which is incredible. And third, and I think really important, is like any other serious disease or terminal disease, uh, it makes you live forward in all sorts of new ways. I mean, you know, I'm more attentive to my husband. I take more joy in my mountains. I took up painting, uh, paying forward to your family and friends and to society. There is nothing like a disease that gives you focus and really and all the research shows this a kind of openness to awe in new ways. So I think those are three reasons, good reasons, to get diagnosed as soon as possible. And you owe it to your family to
Oh,
also get that
I agree
diagnosis.
with that. So I don't know if you remember from our prior conversation, which seems like it was forever ago. My mom had Alzheimer's for 20 years. My
Right.
maternal
Wow.
grandmother had mixed dementias, starting with vascular, but I am assuming, based on the end stages with her, that she also had Alzheimer's. And then my maternal great grandmother also had dementia,
Yeah.
of which that she died before I was born. I was born in the end of
Mm.
'66, so I don't think they didn't have all the knowledge of the different
Yeah.
causes. So I don't know
Yeah.
what her diagnosis was
Yeah.
because I don't think she had one. So before I knew much about Alzheimer's, I was a photographer. I had a client that was a doctor, and
Mm.
my dad's side of the family has tons of diabetes, and I was
Mm.
severely, severely overweight. And she said, "You have a family history of diabetes. You're
Wow.
overweight. You're screwed." And I was
Wow.
like, "I'll
Wow.
show you." And I did. I lost over
Good for
100
you.
pounds. I've kept it off for 11 years, most of it.
Congratulations.
Yes. So I tell people I belong to the cult of Peloton, and you know, you have to find the exercise that you can tolerate for the rest of your life. I
Yeah.
can't say that I enjoy sweating out in a cold garage right now or working out in the hot garage in the summer, but you know, my goal to lose weight was to avoid the diabetes, which I have then learned in the past that also was very important to my brain. So
Correct.
it's, and as I get older, I eat more vegetarian, which
Good.
I'm not
That's
sure
good.
why. I just don't really want beef, and other things
Yeah.
just, they're more appealing. So, it's not that
Good
hard
for
to make
you.
changes when you make them, don't try to change everything at once. Pick something
Right.
like, just, I'm going to go for a 15-minute walk every day this week. And then once you manage
Absolutely.
that, then add, I'm going to cut back on alcohol, or I'm going to cut back on fatty foods because those are terrible for you.
Yeah, absolutely the worst. Or processed foods. Oh, for your brain, processed foods, so bad.
Yeah, it's funny because we need to renovate our 1988 kitchen. It's very dysfunctional, and I'm very focused on getting a smart microwave which can read barcodes on packages and
Nice.
properly heat your food. But I don't have any food with barcodes on it. Not really.
Yeah, right.
It's like, well, I don't know how much this smart microwave will help me, but I'm still getting one.
Well, my biggest challenge in diet, because though I'd eaten fairly healthy in my life, um, the doctor, of course, said, a mind diet. A mind diet is a version of Mediterranean, and it's a diet designed for neurological functioning. And it's just, blueberries and lots of walnuts, but avoiding all processed food. So that's okay. I can give up. I never was big into cereals and all that stuff. That's fine. Until I learned that ice cream is a processed food.
Oh no.
Oh, I love ice cream.
I
So
do
that was
too.
hard. But, my new love is Indian food. So where I live is rich in wonderful Indian food. Lots of people from India have moved here and they've opened up restaurants, and I have taken some cooking classes. So lentils trump ice cream. They really can. Once you
Oh,
get used to it,
okay.
you put enough spices on it.
Well, I actually made lentil balls, which I might have for lunch today. Now that I
Oh,
think about it, but I have a an option for your ice cream fix. It's not
okay.
quite as I was devastated when Ben and Jerry's discontinued their frozen yogurt because that
Yeah.
was that was great, and it was much less fat than
Yes.
ice cream. Because trust me, I'm still lugging around pounds of ice cream in certain areas because I I'm like you. I love ice cream. Ice cream is
Americans love ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream is awesome. But I have these frozen yogurt. They're Greek yogurt bars.
Oh, I've heard of
Yeah,
those.
Yasso, Yasso.
Yasso,
They're
yeah,
very good.
yeah, yeah.
Are they as rich and creamy as ice cream? No. But,
No,
it helps it helps
it
that
helps. It
that
helps
little
that
need.
craving.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't kick your I don't know about you, but I have to wrestle with a sugar beast all the time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm not one of those people. I have had nutritionists tell me, just go quit cold turkey. And one time somebody said this in front of my husband and my daughter, and the expressions on their faces was pure horror. They're like, no, 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 no. People will die. We cannot do that. And they
Oh,
weren't
that's
kidding.
funny.
So,
Well, I'm
yeah, it's
not a
like,
big sugar person, and it's fine with me. Other than ice cream, my doctor said, follow this diet 90 to 95% of the time. So that allows me once a month to have something. That's good.
yeah, moderation. Blah, blah.
Yeah.
I can speak. So, what else do you do that's keeping you healthy?
Yeah, I think really important for brain health is exercise. You mentioned the Peloton. Um, I have exercised since maybe I was 45 or so for stress because of my jobs. Uh, and I liked it. I mean, it was okay. But I knew that when my doctor said 2 hours a day, I was going
Ooh,
to love it. So I got a puppy. I'd always wanted a puppy. I'd had rescue dogs. My husband didn't want a puppy, but how could he say no to a wife who'd just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's? So I got a little mini husky. And so I walked that dog about an hour in the morning, and then throughout the rest of the day, about another hour. And we walk fast. And then I also do strength training, choreography, some type, usually maybe just some kind of dancing. They're all these new classes, and you don't have to be a real dancer. And I tried line dancing. It was too much for my mind. I really couldn't follow the directions. But there are all these, there's one now I go to called Soul Groove. And as far as I can tell, the teacher basically puts on great music and says, now, make sure you step to your right, step to your left, or twirl around or something. But it's all about choreographing your brain to your body. So I do that about 2 hours a day, at least. And, I think the key is finding something you love.
or at
And
least
it
can
may be,
tolerate for the
yeah,
rest
or
of
if
your
you really
life.
hate exercise, tolerate. Or, walking, gardening is a great exercise. Ping pong and pickleball, I don't do those, but they're really great for challenging your mind as well as your body. So, dancing around the house. My doctor said if you can't do anything else, put the music of your youth on when your husband is away and just dance around the house. So I think exercise is really key. We know that exercise releases hormones that calm the mind, uh, that occasionally grow the hippocampus, the place where memories reside, allow neurons to connect in new ways. And that's really how I wrote my book. Oh, I'll give you the full title: Still Me, Accepting Alzheimer's Without Losing Yourself. And it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. But I would exercise with my dog. And, he's an active dog. He doesn't just waddle. We
Yeah,
walk
huskies
fast.
they're high energy.
Yes, high energy. And I would come home after an hour of exercise, and I could sit down for about 2 hours. And so over a year, I did that, and I wrote my book. So I think exercise is just key. It keeps your body well, builds your body for your brain, but it has additional benefits for your brain. Another thing I did was creativity, and you and I have talked about this before. Um, I was kind of surprised when my neurologist said, pick up art, music, dance. That's a twofer, creativity and exercise. Uh, Gardening, another twofer, woodworking, anything. And the emerging field of neuroaesthetics, aesthetics tells us that the old book by Betty Edwards, The Right Side of Your Brain, which is a really wonderful book, probably not scientific, that's more a metaphor than good science, but the book is accurate. The artistic aspect of your brain helps form new neural pathways and it calms your brain. It gets rid of the inflammation, which is what we want to do in all this healthy living for the brain healthy lifestyle. So I have a friend who had Alzheimer's in her family, and after she heard my diagnosis, said to me, "You've got to learn to paint." And I said, "Oh no, not me. I'm one of those kids who in first grade, the teacher said, probably not art classes for you." And my mother reinforced that. So I never did art. And when she tried to teach me, I kind of threw a tantrum. But then I got into it. And today I paint professional portraits. I do a lot of abstracts. We were talking about greeting cards. I do anything from the ridiculous to the sublime. And I love it. I'm a very spiritual person, and a friend of mine who paints says painting is like being in the heart of God. And there is just something, or the universe, or however you want to say it, there is just something so calming. And, we want to stay as calm as we can or counterset our anxiety because anxiety radically increases inflammation. So I think creativity, exercise, diet is really key.
So almost have to live like the hippie lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Which is not necessarily bad.
Maybe not the psychedelic part, but yeah.
They might start experimenting with that.
I think there is a few experimentations going on.
I know there is for like PTSD and depression.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all mental. So you never know. They might veer
off
in that direction next.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. So I'm a photographer and I have the same kind of feeling. There's times when I was photographing families and you could just feel like it was just something would come over you. And I distinctly remember that that feeling very strong when I was photographing a family that had lost a son. I didn't know that until they showed up, because obviously that's really not something people just blurt out to the stranger they're talking to. And we had the most beautiful sunset. And I was like, I'm not religious, but you could almost not.
Yeah.
You had to acknowledge that something was going on.
Yeah. Well, you're just connected to universal awe at that point or whatever. It is really interesting. I do want to mention that one of the newest research studies is showing that even doodling can have this impact on reducing anxiety in the brain. So many people say to me, "Oh, I could never paint." Well, that's me. I said that too. And, we all forget that before we spoke and wrote, we drew and danced and colored as a child. But that's okay. But if you're intimidated by painting or music of any kind, you can doodle. You can also listen to music. There's phenomenal research that even listening to music reduces anxiety in the brain.
I'm wondering how the music is a really big part of the Peloton workouts, regardless of what you're doing. And they have dance cardio, which I should do more of, but I have to learn the choreography so that I can really get a good workout in, because when you're just tripping over your feet, it's not really a very good workout.
Right.
But, you can pick the music. Like this morning, I did a 45-minute 80s ride, and it's just like, I graduated from high school in 84. So it's like 80s music is my era.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes you pick an instructor based on like kind of like your mood. There's some that are
Yeah.
motivational, some that are just funny,
Yeah.
and I'm always astounded that these people they're performers that
Yeah, they
also
are.
are physical instructors. But it's just amazing. I'm wondering how the music definitely plays a role. Now I'm curious
Yeah.
as to like what it's doing to your brain. You're
Yeah.
working out, you're putting your body under some duress, but you got this music that's making you feel really good.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to contemplate
Yeah.
on that
It's
one.
just bombarding your brain with all those good chemicals.
That's probably true. It's probably why you get addicted to. That's why you end up in the cult of Peloton, as I like to say.
Yeah. Right.
But on the doodling, I have seen, and I don't know what the technical term is, but if you just draw like wavy lines, and where the lines connect, so that you would have like a sharp V kind of
Hmm.
overlap, you then go in and soften those curves by making like a little U. That is
Right.
extremely calming for
Yeah.
it's good for people who actually suffer from anxiety, and I've done that a little bit just for fun.
Yeah.
But the reason I
Yeah.
like making homemade greeting cards is because you pretty much can't screw it up, and if you do, it's
Yeah.
just a little bit of ink, a little
Me
bit of
too.
paper. You could chop
And
it up,
everybody
or
loves them.
yeah.
And I think also we know, and we don't even need Alzheimer's research to tell us this. Doing something like that and giving it to someone and making them happy um, is also an anxiety reducer and a confidence builder. So, giving back, being engaged in any way
Yeah, I
helps.
gave two Christmases in a row. I've given my neighbors gift boxes full of cards
Oh,
because
nice. Good
I will.
idea.
I well, one so what was it 22? I in 2022 I'm like I'm gonna see how many different types of birthday cards I can make.
Wow.
Girly, kid, whatever. How many? I got up to 60 and I was like, I don't have this many friends, so I had to figure
Yeah.
out a way to get rid of them. And so I have gift boxes left from when I used to package up portraits, and I just started like dealing them into the boxes. And so this past year in the spring, I asked my husband, like, do you think the neighbors and a couple of our friends would want another box? Because I got this pile of cards again, because I just get going.
Yeah,
And
it's great.
my next door neighbor was ecstatic to get another box because she used all but one. And the one card she didn't
Great.
use in 2023 was basically cards that I made for 4th of July for kind of what is it, like a pay it forward kind of like
Yeah.
simple act of kindness.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
give the
Good.
people at so we have a gated community, give those people at the gate who are working on a
Yeah.
holiday or whatever, like, hey, we appreciate that, you're doing a good job. Here's a card. And, so it really does
Nice.
make a difference.
I want to
But
see your cards. You got to put them on your website. All
well,
good
if I get
idea.
a little more time, I do plan on starting an Etsy store, but I'm
Oh,
very
good.
particular on which ones are good enough for that, and I just need to build up a inventory. But life is busy
Yeah.
right now.
I wanted to follow up on the notion of friends and neighbors and community because we know that's also important, that social engagement.
Mm-hmm.
The, you know, I was pretty amazed. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago that the Surgeon General declared loneliness an epidemic in our society?
Mm-hmm.
And that's very sad. Uh, Loneliness for especially the aging or the uh, people with debilitating illnesses is a co-determinant of Alzheimer's, loneliness and depression. And of course, the moment you get that diagnosis, you want to withdraw, if not before.
Yeah.
That's another sign of Alzheimer's, is wanting to withdraw. But it's so important to be engaged. We live in an over 65 community. We just moved in a year after my diagnosis. And I have found neighbors and some groups. I belong to 3 book clubs. And that's a great form of engagement for me because I love to read, but I don't really like chit chat. But whatever it is, a men's coffee group. My husband and I are religious, so we go to church. Whatever it is, to stay well as a human being, you've got to belong. So you've got to find ways. And if you can find ways that engage your mind, for me, a book club does that even better. Or, learn a new hobby, learn a new card game or something like that. It's that notion of friends and engagement, extremely important for Alzheimer's.
So we have friends that like to do games, which is fun. And then so we moved a little over 2 years ago. We moved 2 hours away from my hometown.
Uh,
And in my attempts to meet new people, I started a card making club. And so I teach people
oh,
how to
fun.
do cards. And I try to show them techniques that they can do. Like we did one where you use shaving cream and drops of ink. So, like the concentrated ink. And one gal, and I don't have any um, food coloring, but she says, I think you can do this with food coloring. I'm like, I think you could, because food coloring is also concentrated. And then you make a little bit of a pattern in the shaving cream, and you dip the card base into it, and then you scrape off the shaving cream. And what's fun is you're not sure how it's going to look until you scrape it all off.
Oh, it's fun. I want to
It
come
is,
and take
yeah.
part of that club or have you do videos,
I should. I should.
YouTube videos.
I just need more time.
Yeah, yeah, we all do. I know, I know.
I know life is so busy, and I don't think modern life is actually that good for our brains. There's some things that are
No,
good, like staying connected with people, like I do through Zoom. And I'm doing a presentation this evening, and that's going to be live, which I don't get very often. So that's going to be fun. I think it'll be different. So that's a good thing. And then
yeah,
we have a golden retriever who is over the top social. And if she doesn't get
yeah.
her morning walks, she gets grumpy. And then in the
Good.
afternoon, she's bored. So
Yeah,
these are not
yeah,
good things for the dog's health. So we take her out, and she will make sure that anybody that comes near her has the opportunity to pet her. So she's a very
yeah,
good icebreaker. If I
yes,
can't get her out to do a walk, if it's raining or really cold, I took her to the Dollar Tree to get the shaving cream for the class.
yeah, yeah. I go to Home Depot or Michael's. We have a lot of Michael's stores in Colorado. So Michael's are very dog friendly, as is Home Depot. So that's
Yeah,
where we
that's
go.
her other favorite store because the employees take, like a 2 or 3 minute mental health break to pet the dog.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
And of course, she just totally eats it up. It's
Yeah,
funny. And if you watch her, if we're standing and talking in a group of people, she will literally go from person to person
yeah,
very subtly, but she wants to make sure if there's five of you, if all five of you get the chance to pet her. It is
yeah.
hysterical.
That's why those dogs make such good therapy dogs. The breed is so good. My breed, not so good, but it's
Yeah, I
good
think
at dragging
huskies
me
are
around.
more one people dog, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He kind of, occasionally he might let somebody pet him, but not too often. And he likes female dogs, but he doesn't like male dogs.
No, my dog likes everybody.
Yeah,
Especially her favorite people are the Safeway delivery drivers.
eh,
Because it's a human bringing food. Woohoo! Big.
yeah, exciting.
Yeah, so it's fun to take her out because you can't. I've learned, I used to do the outdoor power walks with
Yeah,
Peloton and her, and we had another dog until about a year ago. And I was pausing the class all the time to talk to my neighbors. I'm like, forget it. I'm just going to go
I
out with the
know.
dog. And it never disappoints. There's always somebody to talk to. So,
But
yeah.
that's it. That's it. I mean, think of what you're getting. You're getting social engagement, you're getting exercise. And in my book, I talk a little bit about the research now with pet companionship and Alzheimer's. I mean, I know people who got Alzheimer's and they got rid of their pets because they thought again, this old notion that, in 2 years they would lose their independence. But now the research is showing that pets can keep you well. And again, the exercise and companionship you get from a pet is really great.
That's interesting. So my mom, I've had dogs all my life, and I grew up with black miniature poodles, primarily female. And when the dog that my parents had when my mom was in the middle to later stages, all she had to do was look at my mom for attention,
Mm-hmm.
pets, whatever, and my mom would feed her. So this poor dog.
I
Black
know.
miniature poodles should weigh about 15 pounds. She weighed 28.
That's what
So
one of I told you both my grandmothers and mother also had it. And one of my grandmothers, she did the same thing. She'd forget. She wouldn't eat herself, but she'd feed the dog all day
the
long.
dog ate 4 times a day.
Yeah, it was sad.
Well, I give my dog because we lost so much. So the dog we have now, her name is Luna. When we got her at 8 weeks, she was the baby of three. I had a pack of three Goldens. Then she was the middle of three, and then she was the oldest of two. And
Uh,
unfortunately, with Goldens, they are highly susceptible to cancers. And
right.
her younger companion got an aggressive liver tumor
Oof.
this time last year, and we lost him on February 27th, 23. And we were definitely not ready for another one. She loves to travel. She don't care where we're going. She loves to go to the
Mm,
vet. She don't care where are we going. She just wants to go. He was a terrible traveler. So we're
no
like, we're
fun.
taking this big trip to Glacier National Parks. We're not even going to consider a dog till September. So September has come and gone. We're trying to
Yeah,
figure out if it's a good idea or not. She's 9.5. So she's really super spoiled, but she gets her dinner in the Kong that you roll around for the kibble
yeah.
to come out, and she has gotten amazingly quick at getting her
Uh,
food. She picks it up and rolls it around. But I do that to keep her like stimulated because I
yeah,
asked the
yeah,
vet, like, we're not ready for another one. We're not sure what we're going to do. Like, but what do I do for her? Because she went from being, part of three and then two, and now she's an only at eight
yeah.
and a half. And that's what he told me to do is basically the food puzzles, which she has
Oh,
two. But I like the one where she has to actually move and not just
yeah,
stand there
move
and
around.
open the
Yeah.
thingies to get her food out. So I tell people, yeah, my caregiving these days is a golden retriever.
Caregiving, I just went to the Alzheimer's Association National Summit in New Orleans, and it's to thank all the volunteers. And of course, I always love your Alzheimer's flowers. And so there were about 1,300 people there. And uh, there were just maybe 10 of us who have Alzheimer's, but mainly it was for the volunteers for the Alzheimer's Association. And, most everybody's a caregiver or
Mm-hmm.
was, like yourself. And, the stories they told, so, so powerful. And, what caregivers do and their love and their frustration and their 24/7 work. And as somebody who will be dependent upon a caregiver or caregivers, I mean, I really, I stand in awe. They say there's about 11 million unpaid caregivers in this country for Alzheimer's alone, and that's going to grow.
And I think that's an undercount because I think a
I
lot
do.
of, like, your husband might not consider himself a caregiver. He's just doing
Yeah.
what he's supposed to do. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I think so too.
I think there's a lot of people that don't,
Yeah.
or they're like a casual caregiver. They help out here and there, so they don't consider
Yeah.
themselves caregivers. They're just taking you to the doctor or mowing your lawn or
Right.
whatever. They're not doing necessarily day-to-day stuff, but they're still caregivers. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's
And, you think about how many more we will have with Alzheimer's, because what is it? 10,000 a day turn 65.
yeah.
America, 10,000 a day. And it's primarily a disease for those over 65. Although, the early onset Alzheimer's numbers are pretty significant. I think it's 6% or so of those with Alzheimer's have early onset. But, it's just this problem is going to grow and grow and grow. All the more reason for people to learn about early diagnosis and the treatments, and all the more for people to walk to end Alzheimer's, which raises money for that research.
Yep.
So anyway, the rally was incredible. I have to tell just this story because Alzheimer's Association, along with other organizations, they're also wonderful. So they had 1,300 of us in a room, and I gave a speech, and there were other speeches, and and then there was supposed to be a reception. None of us knew what was going on. They herded us out to Canal Street, and there were bands and people on stilts and the whole Mardi Gras parade. And we walked down to the Fillmore, which is a jazz hall, to listen to jazz. And what a thank you for these volunteers.
Yeah, I'm wondering why I didn't get invited. I'm a volunteer.
Oh, well, you have to, I think the local chapters, you have to ask your local chapter to send you next year. It's lots of fun.
Yeah, because I went to DC last year. That was my first
Yeah.
time to DC
Yeah.
ever, but with the Alzheimer's
Woo.
Association, that was only about 900, I think.
Yeah,
And of course,
that was the I can't remember what they call that, but that was a political summit where they
yeah,
got the White House and stuff. Really important.
yeah, where you get to go harass your legislators.
Yeah.
That's what I
Important.
referred to it as. And of course, from California, there was a very big contingency. We had the most people, which shouldn't be surprising because we're the most populous state. I just read something with somebody else. They thought Florida was. I'm like, I don't think so. I think we're
Oh
still
no,
number
I don't
one.
think so. Yeah.
Temporarily, maybe, but I think we're still number
Yeah.
one. 40 million people in a state's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, but I was going to ask you. So you said it's been almost 5 years. Have you noticed a progression, or has it been fairly stable because of what you've been doing to stay healthy?
I think it's been very stable cognitively. I mean, that I can be in three book clubs, that I can write a book, um, that I'm on the national board of the Alzheimer's Association. I'm on a couple of other important boards for Alzheimer's. Where I notice it is I continue to sleep now 10 hours a night, not nine, plus naps. And I do occasionally get more anxious. You know, anxiety comes with this disease. So I'll have, just some really bad anxiety kind of problems. So that's where something like painting, walking my dog, helps deflect that anxiety. But uh, but I'm good. My husband says I have a little bit more memory loss, and I imagine that's true, but nothing too noticeable.
That's good. That's
Yeah, if I
really
could
good.
stay like this for 5 or 6 more years, I'd be really happy.
A lot of people are skeptical of the benefits of the treatments because it just slows down the progression. But I try to remind them that if you're old enough, which you might not be yet, if it slows it down, you may pass away from something else other than the later stages of Alzheimer's, which my mom basically got to miss most of that because she fell and broke her leg right at the start of
Yeah,
COVID. And that was the last straw for her
yeah.
body. Um, but I know people
Well,
whose loved ones are bedbound and have to be fed. And if you can skip that stage, that'd be great.
absolutely. And you never know when there's going to be a cure. I mean, I don't think there will be a cure in my lifetime. I'm 72. Uh, And if it is, I hope it goes to the younger people first, the 49 or 52-year-olds with early onset. I hope the medicines get directed there first because those people with families. But, I have a good life. I'm giving back. I'm contributing to society. Um, I'm still me. Um, yes, if I can extend that good life, that life of giving back and stuff, contributing, I would love to do so. And if I can extend that 5 to 10 years, that's great. Um, yeah, I really do not want to go through the bedridden, don't know my son. Those are heartbreaking. They're heartbreaking.
Yeah. I knew my mom didn't recognize me as
Yeah.
her daughter because I'd lost so much weight. I hardly recognized me. So
Oh, good
it
for
was
you.
not a surprise when I confirmed that she didn't remember our
Yeah.
relationship, but she thought I
Yeah.
was her best friend. So I'm like, that
Yeah.
might be an upgrade.
Yeah.
Understanding that you're not going to forget your son, you just forget the relationship. You can't
Right.
connect that face to this term, but you have strong feelings for this person. And we always
Somebody at the
laughed.
Alzheimer's Association, a guy, told this wonderful story about his mother in the later stages. She walked in one day with her care partner, her husband, to see him at work, and she didn't recognize him. And she said, I'm so and so. Who are you? And he said, well, I'm Jay. And she said, oh, my son's name is Jay. Do you know him? And he said, I do. And she said, isn't he the best kind of guy? And he was saying, blessing and sadness too, but they do know. People do
Yeah.
know.
My mom always told like anybody we'd run across, like, she's my best friend. I've known her forever. And the caregivers in the memory care residence where she lived, we'd all laugh because, like, yeah, you think you know me forever. You've known me longer than anybody else, lady. It's
Yeah.
just, it
Well,
was,
it's, in those later stages, I don't know that I can say still me, but it bubbles up in different ways, as you say. Although
mm-hmm.
my mother in her last stages um, decided that she had a different husband and family than the one she had. She knew the one she had, but she thought she had this other one too. That was kind of fun. I had fun with it.
Yeah, if you can find the, skip over the like the weird feelings that probably elicited and then just roll with it. I
You
know
have
that
to.
was we didn't have that kind of stuff, but it took me a while to get used to. She would always refer to my dad as her husband, and it took
Yeah.
me a while to understand that when I said, "Oh yeah, he knows where we are. Dad knows where we're going," that wasn't answering her question.
Yeah.
When that lightning bolt hit me, it was like, "Whoa!" I mean, that when
Yeah.
I have there's a designer of the crafty tools that I like, and he talks about his popcorn brain with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ideas just popping, and I'm like, oh, I'm not the only person that literally feels these popping thoughts
Popcorn
going
brain.
off, and and that's what it
Well,
felt
and
like
I
that
think,
day.
and I think we know more in the research and more experience, people talking about experiences, that engagement helps. You got to engage them where they are, right? I did a fascinating interview the other day for a teen program,
Mm.
and a group of teens asked, "How do we uh, treat our grandmothers and grandfathers who have Alzheimer's?" And the other person was a medical director of an Alzheimer's care unit in Tallahassee. And he reminded them of that wonderful Chevy commercial
Mm-hmm.
that aired, that where the granddaughter probably took her grandmother out. And I said, you just engage, again, dance, color, play card games, sing, whatever. I mean, treat the person with dignity and respect and engage them where they're at, not where you think you want
Yeah.
them to be.
Figuring out where they're at sometimes can be a challenge, but when
Hard.
you do, you can kind of go on a fun little journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you
Yeah.
can learn things you may not have known because old
Right.
history bubbles up, old memories come up
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said the name of your book is Still Me. You're going to have to give me the subtitle again.
Accepting Alzheimer's without losing yourself.
And
And I have a website, Rebecca Chopp Enterprise.
well, all of that will be linked in the show notes because I'm sure you guys are going to totally want to read this story because this has been a fascinating conversation.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you. I had a fabulous editor for this book, and it's filled with good tips and ideas, and also with a touch of humor, because you got to laugh as well as cry.
Yep. Laughing is better.
Laughing's
well, I
fun.
appreciate this. It's taken a few times for Rebecca and I to get together, and we finally made it, so it was totally worth it. I appreciate it, and I'm definitely going to give your book a read, and
Thank you.
Recommending it to everybody else because it sounds fantastic.
Okay, thank you, and don't forget, I want to see those greeting cards.
Yep. Alrighty. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye. And now for you diehards who get all the way to the end of the episode, first a big thank you, and now your caregiver joke styled in the fashion of a bad dad joke. What did the caregiver say when their loved one couldn't remember where they left their shoes? Well, looks like we're on a soul-searching mission again. And here's a snippet of what you can expect from next week's episode.
I had literally just gone through everything with my father, and even though my mother had Alzheimer's at that point, it was still very fresh, like hell I'd gone through with my father. So, when I started taking her to the lawyers and everything else, I was just doing it under the guise of I just want to make sure that you're taken care of if, God forbid, anything like what happened to Dad ever happens to you. So she was under the impression, and I was trying to protect her and take care of her, but she was under the impression, the way I was presenting it to her, was that I was doing this so that way in the future, if God forbid something ever happened to her, we would be okay. In my mind, I was like, we got to get all this done really quick because, I knew that if it went too long, I mean, she wouldn't have been, I don't think a lawyer in their right mind would be like, yeah, okay, she's fine,
Thanks for listening today, and we'll be back in your ears again next Tuesday. Please support our sponsors, for they help us bring this show to you for free.